When I went to university in the States, I went to the University of Rhode Island, and I went there because I wanted to eventually be a foreign correspondent. And that came from my experience in Iran during the Iranian Revolution of 78, 79. And I realized that here was this amazing, geostrategic event that was causing ripples and, much more than ripples all over the world. And I was old enough to understand what was going on, even though it was happening to me and my family and my country. And, connected enough to it, but detached enough to say, this is what I want to do growing up. I want to tell these kinds of stories. And that is what led me to university and then led me to get my first jobs. And very fortunately, after I graduated, which was in 82, 83, CNN was a startup at that point. So I got a job at CNN right at the bottom. Really, I mean, you couldn't get lower than I did. I was like a desk assistant and lower. I literally bought coffee. And I worked my way up from there, knowing what I want to do. I had a very clear vision of wanting to go into the field. The heroes at that time were people like Peter Jennings, and then obviously all the people who I used to read about, who were the Vietnam generation, Neil Sheehan, Peter Arnett, who also was at CNN, David Halberstam, who I'd read about at university, the best and the brightest. Those were our texts that we were reading about. People like Gloria Emerson, who had been one of the first women foreign correspondents, Marguerite Higgins, all these people who just inspired me to want to go and do this kind of stuff, the trench coat and the expense account and flying around the world on somebody else's dime. I mean, what could be better? And I just loved it, and I thrived on it. And it was only, sort of a few years in, not really even a few years, almost immediately actually, as actually being a foreign correspondent, that I realized how significant a role it was in society, how important it was to tell stories. The history of our civilization for thousands of years has been storytelling. So I feel like I'm continuing a tradition that, that explains the world to people. And I think people are getting away from that too much, particularly on television. Right now it's panels, it's talking heads, it's not even major leaders who you can hold accountable. So that's why for me, just recently interviewing Emmanuel Macron, the Iranian President Rouhani, was very important, and I always try to get their first interviews, and I often succeed, which is great, because when people talk to you first, when they've just been elected, there's a level of truth and frankness that maybe sometimes gets eroded or buffered away over time.
Continue watching this fascinating conversation for free by clicking on the link below to visit our website, learn from the best minds in the world, and connect with a community of passionate people building the best versions of themselves. Just click on the link below, and I'll see you on the inside.